So I designed this thingy so I can make various end effectors, and I have this little flange or whatever you'd want to call that on there. Then this just bolts on with 4 bolts, and this can just slide in, and then you just connect the servo up here. And then if I hit reset on the Arduino, I guess I'll put this on here first. It'll go into its homing sequence, and then so it moves both motors. So this closes until it hits a switch here, and then it moves back until it hits that switch, so it knows what angle all the motors are at, and then drives it to its default position. So you put a 1 to say, okay, we want to retrieve a box, and then you put the number of boxes that it wants to retrieve. So I guess we'll do 1, and then we hit enter. It'll retrieve that box and put it into the working area, which is just this space right here. And then I could hit 2 and then enter, and it'll just retrieve it, or pick it up and put it back. I'm gonna do that again, but we'll do 0 this time, so pick up box 0. Keeps getting stuck. There we go. And now, if you tell it to pick up another box, let's do box 1 again. It'll first check to see if something is in this area, which there is, so it'll return this one first. And then once it's done with that, it'll check, and obviously there's nothing in there now, so it'll get the next box that it was told to get. And then when it puts this in here, it puts this number in the variable that stores the box in the working area. So then if you tell it to get something else, it will check and see that there's something there, so it puts it back first. It keeps sticking together. It keeps sticking to this top fork because it's kind of bent. But see, it doesn't know that's the only one off there, so it does all of the same steps anyways. So.
But I have one question for you. Where did you buy this kit so that you could put all this together?
I just made it.
What does that mean?
All these parts I designed and 3D printed, and then everything else is just like off-the-shelf parts from like Amazon. So like these are just stepper motors. These are NEMA 17 stepper motors, and similar to like what's in 3D printers. And then these are little stepper motor drivers, and this is just an Arduino Uno, which is a microcontroller development board. So there's a little microcontroller on here that can be programmed. And I actually have this is communicating to the computer through a USB interface, so I can give it commands and things. But yeah, so this is all from Amazon and 3D printed parts that I designed. And yeah.
Very cool.
So I started just kind of writing down in plain English conceptually what I wanted to do, like bullet points. I'm not going to go through all this, but pretty much just by starting by like listing out the things that I want it to do and the different functions that it has to do and different decisions that it has to make before it can do those functions in plain English, it can help kind of get all the stuff down on paper so it's not up in my head and running in circles and not getting anywhere. So this stuff up here is pretty much just all the input handling and the decision making stuff. And then essentially there's 2 main operations. This would be, picking a box up from the stack and removing it from the stack. And then this is putting it down in the work area. And in order to do the inverse of that, or pick something up from the work area and put it into the stack, you essentially do the exact same steps, just in reverse. So instead of going from 1 to 11, you would do 11 to 1. So all these steps are stored in an array, and then by incrementing through the array, you can go forward, and then doing all the steps in reverse by starting at the max number and then going down to 0. And so that brings us to this. This is there's a little bit more of the just notes and stuff, but then this is the main flow chart. It has flaws, like I made some corrections, like this is actually what's here and this is actually what's here instead of what's here. But essentially we start with command, and then so this is the command, and then this is the target body, or how accurate it is at this point given the code, because I had to kind of make some changes as I went. This is just kind of conceptually some structure, a way to kind of visualize, to go from writing in plain English what you want this to do and everything it has to do and decide in order to do all those things, to going into how you'd actually go about building that, structurally speaking. So these main chunks here, this is all the decision making stuff and processing stuff, and then these main chunks here, this is the robot actually being commanded, and it's a loop. So but this is actually wrong. I actually replaced it with this. But so I just made this drawing so I could get all the different dimensions I need, like how far away is the stack from x equals 0. So this is the global reference frame right here, RF is 0, and then this is the reference frame of the robot. So it needs to know where everything is according to the global reference frame in order to calculate where to drive this point relative to this point by calculating the motor angles. So I just drew this so I could like keep track of the dimensions and then put them all into the code, and yeah.